Hi, I'm Kate Gunby. I'm a sociology PhD candidate at the University of Arizona, and this is my fourth video in a series on how to append, merge, and collapse data in Stata. So this video will be focusing on how to collapse data. So this is really kind of an undervalued feature in Stata, and it's really an easy way to get a summary measure of the data that you have. So I'm going to start out with kind of the simplest possible way of collecting data, and then we'll kind of work up and get more complex from there. So I'm going to start out with a very simple collapse. We're going to start by finding the mean. So we simply type in collapse, and then we want the mean, and then the variable that we want the mean for. So for now, let's do bedrooms. And so give Stata a minute to work. And now we see that we only have one variable left. So we're down to just um, this one item. So I'm actually going to browse just so you can see. So we have the mean number of bedrooms is 2. So this is the absolute simplest way of collapsing stuff, and it's on, you can see it's not that helpful, right? There's faster ways of finding the mean number of bedrooms. So let me clear what we've got and go back to that data set and show you something a little bit more useful. So let's say that, I'll give it a minute to open the data. So let's say we want the mean for a number of different items. We want the mean for the number of bedrooms, number of living rooms, what else would make sense? And then we'll also do annual income and level of education. So now you see we have those 4 variables left, and we have mean number of bedrooms is 2, living rooms is 1, the annual income is 5, which is actually a category. So this one is a little bit problematic because it's averaging by categories that represent actual income levels. And then the average education level is 6, which is, in this data set, I believe it's around 6 years of education. And as you can see, data also includes this at a much more fine-grained level. So the average number of bedrooms is actually 2.410419. So that data is in there as well. It's just showing it to us in a very simplified form. So if you were to be using a data set that had a lot of counts or dummy variables, this is a really helpful tool for finding all sorts of different statistics. So let's go back and I'll show you some more examples. So let's say I decide I want to create a table with the summary statistics for these 4 variables. So what I'm going to do is run a bunch of different collapse commands with different statistics that I'm going to get, and then save them off to become their own data sets. So we're going to save this one as CA mean, and then we will go back up and use the same data set again. And actually, so that I don't have to hit use each time, I'm going to preserve the data set where it is. And then I'm going to collapse for the minimum for each of these. So now Stata has given us the minimum, so we can browse and see what shows up. So it's 0 for each of them. And so we'll save this off as the CA min. And then we'll restore and preserve the data again. And this time we'll run the max And now Stata has given us the maximum. And so we can browse again, see that it's 9, 9, 21, and 20. And so then we can go and save that off as CA max, and we'll restore and preserve again. And I'm actually going to show you help collapse so that you can get a sense of all the different functions we can be doing for this. So we have the mean, the median, various percentiles, standard errors of the mean, all sorts of different calculations. So you can imagine how you could just keep on going through and getting all of these different statistics. I'm going to stop here just so that we don't waste a lot of time. So now I've switched over to the Stanford data set. This one has a bunch of dummy variables, just so you can see what happens when we use sum to figure out how many of each dummy variable is there. So for this data set, the police data are dummy variables. So we're going to collapse sum, and then we'll do police 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we'll enter that and we'll browse. So here you can see how many of the cases had police. And so when you're going through and saving off the summary statistics that way, eventually what you're going to do is append each of those data sets to create one larger data set that'll have the various summary statistics that you're looking for. And so it can be a really quick and easy way to create a nice looking table with all the different statistics you're looking for your data set. If you're unsure how to append the data, you can go back and watch my first video. So what I have now is this person data from the household survey, and I'm going to show you where collapse really starts to get exciting, which is where we can do by commands and if commands and really create a mini data set with summary information, but not just in that one line. So let me show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to do here is collapse, and we'll do the mean for the age, highest level of education, and total income. And we're going to do this by the respondent province. I put these in their province, and then also we'll just start with the province. And so here you see that for the 9 provinces, we have the average age, highest level of education, and annual income for each of those locations. And so I'm going to go back and make this even more complex. So we'll go back to that original data set, and we'll collapse. We'll do the mean, and then let's say we also want to get the median, the minimum, and the max for each of those categories. So we'll do the median, the min, and the max. And let's say we care about province, but we also figure that whether it's urban or rural is going to matter as well. So we'll go ahead and put in whether it's urban or rural. So now we'll run it again. So the snag we've had here is that we're trying to come up with summary statistics for the same variables. And what Stata does is automatically just give them the same name that they had originally. what we need to do is go in and actually rename these variables. So we'll do mean age equals, I'm going to go ahead and pause this and put in the variable names, and then I'll run it again with you in just a second. Okay, so I went in and I renamed all the variables. So we have the mean, the median, the minimum, and the maximum for the age, the education, and the income. So I'll run this again. And now you can see we didn't have an error message, so that's good. I'll go ahead and hit browse. And so now we have each of the provinces here, and then whether it's urban or rural. And then we have the mean for the age, education, and income, the median for the age, education, and income, minimum age and income, maximum age, maximum education, and maximum income. And so here you can see we really now have like a pretty comprehensive way of understanding our data set without having to kind of go through and do a bunch of different summary statistics. And the other thing is you could pretty easily put this into some sort of a visual, so either a graph or even, create some nice tables using this information. So what I'm going to do now is simply add in the if command. So we're going to go back and use that same data set. And we're going to collapse pretty much the same way that we did before, but I'm going to vary it. Let's say we only care about women in this case. So we'll add this statement if gender, and it's actually b_gender equals 2. So if we browse now, we get a similar looking data set, except now it's using entirely the data on women as opposed to the data we had before on both women and men. So there's a chance that maybe after looking at this, we decide that we want to look at both women and men together, side by side. And so once again, we can just add that to our by category. So we can use that same data set, and instead of doing if gender is 2, we'll just add it into our by category. Run the data again, and I'll browse. And so here we can see we have women, men, and then it included missing also, which would be problematic. So we need to go back and fix that in the data set and figure out what we're doing with people who don't report if they're male or female. But anyway, it gives you a pretty easy way of seeing what the differences are based on age within the same province and the same urban or rural area. So here we can see, women on average are older because they're living longer, which is what we would expect. But then we can also see differences in their, their mean income is lower, their the level of education in this province is higher, stuff like that. And so this again gives us a pretty quick and dirty way, or not even dirty, a quick way of going through and figuring out what's going on in our data set. Thanks for watching these videos on how to append, merge, and collapse data in Stata. I hope that they've been helpful. Feel free to go ahead and click through on the different links that I'm including in the information for each of these videos. Those resources will be really helpful for seeing more examples. And as always, check out the help files in Stata as well as other online resources, because if you have questions, there's a good chance you'll be able to find the answers there. Good luck.